Awesome.
Hey, everybody, it's David Duford here at davidduford.com, where I help insurance agents like you become top producing insurance professionals. And it is exactly the reason why we're here today. I'm sitting across the virtual table with Mr. Frank Brenes. Frank, why don't you say hello out there?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thank you so much for having me on, David. It means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love paying it forward because you've been almost like a virtual mentor to millions, I think, insurance agents. So thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate that. I very, very much do. So Frank is here because I love doing top agent interview series, especially for those who are newer to the business. If you watch Cody Askins or a lot of other information on insurance sales, then you know that the vast majority of insurance agents fail out of the business in the first year. And there are particular reasons and ways to stop yourself from failing. And that's why I just think it's so important to highlight people who have successfully bridged the gap between being a neophyte in the business and going to top 5% or greater in production. And I think what you'll find with this interview is that Frank is going to be useful to listen to if you're struggling in the insurance business. Frank's been there, as we'll discover here in a minute. And if you want to achieve a level of success you haven't gotten yet, you're going to find this interview is going to be very useful. So Frank, why don't you jump in and give us a little background about yourself?
All right. So I don't come from the industry. I have my background is in online marketing and advertising. And so when this huge wave came out with, mobile advertising, I was part of that. I helped develop some mobile ads that you see today on these popular games. It was an awesome, journey that I had the opportunity to not only work with top developers, but also help them monetize their creations. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought, that was it, that's all I was going to do. And merger happened. And one day, the president of the company gives me a call and says, we got some great news. The merger went through. And the good news is you got your job. You keep your job. I said, wow, that's cool. You just hired me to become a vice president.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And then he says, well, we're going to have to take a pay cut. I said, okay. And understand I was, I'm an older guy, so I'm not that young. And was been in the industry for over 15 years total with online and was making pretty good money, 6 figures. And we had just bought a house, my lovely wife and I, and here in LA, it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
And so he just tells me, yeah, you're going to have to take a pretty big pay cut. So I'm thinking, okay, great. What are we looking at? 10,000, 20, that's hard. But, he says, no, Frank, it's $45,000.
Wow.
So I said,
in LA?
Yeah, no, but so here's the crazy thing. I said, okay, well, I got some bonuses coming, 45,000.
Yeah, right. Right.
That's not such a big cut. It's a huge cut. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he says, no, Frank, that's your new salary.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did what every good husband does and not tell his wife. So that
last
night,
to know.
yeah. So that night, I was tossing and turning and I had to finally, cough it up. And that's when, like I said, when opportunity like that happen, I mean, when trials happen like that, usually opportunity is disguised. And my wife had known this, her best friend's mom, and she was with I call it the practice company. And yeah, so I don't like using other names, but
feel free to guess below, ladies and gentlemen, which practice company we're talking about.
Yeah. So, we had prayed together that night. And so this lady, randomly appeared, which we think it was randomly, but she probably had a list created that she was targeting me.
Yeah. Right.
So that's cool. So, we just bought this house and she says, what happens if you were to die? I'm like, well, I guess we'd be pretty much done, And so she goes, why don't you come to a meeting with me? And, just to get to know our company. So I went in and this was in November 2017.
Mm-hmm. About 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, well, about 2 years ago. It was mid-November 2017. And my wife says, whatever you do, do not join anything. I said, okay. And just like a good husband does, I didn't listen. And I loved it. I was sold on, what you can do, what the industry's, where it's going. I mean, it's just amazing. It was
So let me ask you this, just because interesting. All of us come into insurance by happenstance. We don't purposely grow up to be an insurance salesperson. It's usually because, like you've gone through, it's the trials and tribulations that, which you kind of a Freudian slip you said there. It is an opportunity. You have to have that mindset that problems and adversity gives you opportunities that you probably would have never thought of. But so my question is, what attracted you on that first, intro to the company? Not necessarily with the company, but what is it that enticed you to say, wow, this is great. I do want a career in this, especially with all your experience in digital marketing. You could have gone somewhere else in that capacity.
That's a good question. When you get the news and it's bad news that you're at the top of your game. I mean, literally speaking, you're making good money. You're traveling. I was traveling to Europe. I was traveling to Australia. I was traveling over to Russia. So I had a pretty amazing, I got to say, I had a pretty amazing life. And once you've tasted that, it's kind of hard to start over again.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it was all by accident, and when I went in there, what really, really appealed to me was the fact that I didn't have to answer to anybody. That's the first thing. I didn't have to answer to anybody. And then that I'd be helping people in something that people are scared to talk about. People are scared to talk about, their finances. And one of them that's very neglected is insurance. I mean, so I said, wow, that's a huge industry. And I think if I just apply the same principles of, high touch and high tech, I think we can get far. And so that was more appealing to me than the fact that you could be a millionaire kind of thing. And that to me, I just look, at the end of the day, can I make an income? Can I make a viable income? And one thing I realized really quickly is I'm a student. I tend to be a student to everything I do, I observe. One thing that I observed is the people that had been successful at the practice company, it had taken them 8 to 10 years to hit six-figure incomes. I mean, I'm talking about not entry-level six-figure, but higher six-figure incomes. So I started thinking, I'm a 45-year-old man. I don't have, not that I'm old, okay, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't have that much time again. So I really went all in, pedal to the metal. Matter of fact, my 5th month there, my 5th month there, I was invited to their elite training, which they take. The hierarchy had about 5,000 agents, and I was invited to to that training, and it was my birthday actually. And I'm like, I don't want to go. My wife's like, just go. So I said, okay, I'd rather work, than just go to this training and be there.
Yeah, sure.
It's really about attrition too. So that's one thing I appreciate about what they did. We can go back and we can complain about situations, but they can also build you. And so I was there and I learned to just be patient and to just observe and really analyze things through and then actually play the game that's being played and played by the rules. And so we did that for about 3 months, and then we announced the winner of the entire thing. So there was like 5,000 total agents, and out of 5,000, you have to qualify, and you're dwindled down to 300, and then you compete against each other. So out of 300, I won they have an award called the Sword of Alexander. So I won that in 5 months. So let me just give you some background. Most people that have been there and that are agency owner type level have never won that sword. And so I thought what I had done was pretty special, not because of what I had done, but mostly because of the team and the buy-in from the team that I had created.
Right.
So anyway, so that's pretty much it. I thought that was fairly interesting. Oh, and once I won, I had pedal to the metal. We went until the November of that year. So November 2018, I started reassessing. I said, look, I'm spending so much time away from home.
Right.
Time and balancing. I was spending way too much time away from home, not enough time at bats, meaning in front of customers or clients. And my marriage was suffering, Not only we had the hardship of not communicating, and not spending quality time together, but I wasn't making money, you know, pedal to the metal, killing it in their eyes. And I only hit $30,000 commissionable that I made.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
So,
wow.
so,
Yeah.
so everybody's clear listening to this. So, and Frank hasn't talked about his production. It's well over six figures. He's done more than $1 million, or is on track to, for 2019.
No,
We're
that's
talking about
1.1.
1.1.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the end of last year, right? 2018. The most you had made was $30,000 in income, even though you were hitting these, awards for, the
Right.
company, and, you were a good top producer, really. But here's the thing, and I wanted to get to is, first of all, just a statement, then a question. This is evidence that if you just don't quit, you can find a way out of the adversity that you're in. Okay. It's like, for me, I failed out of the business after a year, but came back once I realized the mistakes I made and what I had to do to change. And although Frank didn't fail, he realized, okay, here's where I'm at. I'm pigeonholed here. I've got to change things up, which brings me to my question. We've been talking about the practice company. And the reason we're saying this is because you're not with them anymore. You're on your own with another organization.
Right.
I guess the question would be, what was the process in switching to this new organization, and what appealed to it more to you now that you had this year's worth of experience with the practice company? What about it drew you to it that you felt was a better overall deal than what you were getting?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's very simple. I had run businesses before. I was a vice president. I understood that sales is the blood of business. If you don't have sales in an organization, and if you're just wishing and hoping and dependent and outsourcing that in hopes that you find someone that's going to help you get to the top, it's never going to happen. It has to be you.
Right.
It has to be you to create that, So like going back to what I was saying, when I would interview, or I would, talk to them, and I had a chance to talk to these guys. They're awesome speakers, awesome self-development. I mean, incredible self-development. I had a lot of respect for them. But one thing I noticed was it took so darn long. And I said, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that.
Right.
So I started thinking about this, and I had a lot of time to think and analyze the business. I said, look, it's taking, on average, if you find what a quote unquote a rabbit, it's someone that goes in the business, is coachable and does everything, you probably have about 4 to 5 weeks to get them motivated in the business and to take the test and to do all those things.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
Yep.
And once you go to your friends and family, which is a good concept, but then what? Once you're done, then you're just listening to someone speak all day. I didn't like that. I said, how can if I had a bakery, okay, if I'm in business, let's keep this simple. I'm in business. I open up a bakery. What do? I fill it with pastries, right? I have a grand opening. I ask my friends and family to come over. Can I make a sustainable business off of just my friends and family?
Right.
Right.
Eventually run out of them,
Absolutely, right? But then you're hoping that their friends and family think the same way as you. So I said, that's not a sustainable business model. It's not. It might have been sustainable for others, but for me and my particular situation, I was, like I said, I was broke and broken, and I owed some taxes. I mean, the whole thing. Okay.
Sure.
I didn't have time for that. I needed to earn an income immediately.
Right.
And so once I reached out to, the company I'm with now, Symmetry Financial, I reached out to them and I interviewed them particularly. And I was going to go with another company, another IMO. I already made a decision that I was done. I had other, networking type of companies approach me. And I just said, look, I can't do that. And
right.
keep in mind, I didn't have a lot of experience in this. The only experience I had is what they told me. So once I heard the person over the phone, Sean Kim, he's actually the #1 producer in my entire company, and how humble and how straightforward he was, I knew, okay, if what he's saying is true, I'm just going to dive in. And if they do have the lead system that they say they do, I'm diving in also. And that was very important for me. And then after that, I immediately flew out to Las Vegas with my brother, Frank Brenes. He's actually an agency owner also, the second in Southern California. So that's awesome. We flew out to Las Vegas and we saw Sean Kim and his magic, man. He literally gone out there, sit with clients. And I said, that's it. We're done. He goes, yeah, that was about 8,000. It was about 800 APV.
So you did a ride along and you saw it all.
Yeah, I did a ride along and I go, well, what does that mean? So I'm like calculating, so you made like 600 bucks on this? He's like, yeah. I'm like, how many of these do you do a day? I do about 4, 5. And being humble too. And so I said, my brother, he's funny. You get to meet him. He's funny. He says, well, let me see your bank account. Like, let me see your, because the carriers pay us. I wasn't used to that too. We get daily paychecks from carriers.
Right.
And he was gracious enough to show it. And this guy in his first year, again, no experience. His first year, he was doing over $500,000.
Wow. Not
just APV. I'm talking about take home.
Right.
Said, this kid's obviously he's an animal, right? That's why that was his nickname.
Oh yeah.
But I said, wait a minute, if I can do that here and I could teach people to do that here in Los Angeles, I think we have a winning recipe. And it was, at first it was just me and my brother, just my brother and I, and we were just working our butts off. And it just, you just work at it. So yeah, so that's about it with me in terms of how I found symmetry and stuff. I was sick and tired, broken.
And it was part of, it sounds like a big part of it that made you the believer was that experience, that ride along, and seeing it as believing, I think, to a certain extent.
Absolutely. And having an amazing, not just someone that's going to talk good things to your ear, but someone that's going to actually do it and do it with you. And if you're coachable, that's one thing. If you're coachable and you see that and you just go implement it, you go make those mistakes, you're going to succeed in this business, and you just don't quit. Just don't quit. That's another thing I want to hit on. Yeah. When I speak to a lot of my past colleagues in the practice company and then other companies, are like, well, you quit. And it's funny because everywhere else in business, if you're a business owner, what do you do every single year? You assess the year.
Right.
And you should be obsessed about metrics. You should know every 10 leads I purchase, I better be making X, right? Every home I visit, I better, right? Why is it different in this business? So I reassessed the full year and I said, that's not working for me. So when I talk about don't quit on the industry. There's so much money to be made in this industry, and there's so many families that need to be helped. It's incredible to me. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And that's the thing, is it's just, if you've got the work ethics, I think it's a function of time. It just may take you longer than some other guy, but if you just stick with it, there's a way that you can. And I think that's purposeful. Maybe it's the providential thing that I connect some of this to, but I think there's like, Lady Adversity is sitting up there and throwing things at us to frustrate us, to question our motives and why are we doing this? I could be doing something else, but that's all to build you up stronger, so everything has a purpose, and it's hard to see it while you're in the middle of it. But as you rise out of it, I mean, I know I have, looking back, I'm sure you do too. You're thankful for problems. You're thankful for adversity because they were what, molded you in the way you are now.
Absolutely.
So why don't you describe, I'm curious, so you made the switch, you made the transition, you were sold on the training, the different approach to leads, because that's a huge thing. I think
huge.
The other organization you talked about relied on the typical Project 100 approach, where you work friends, family members, but that's a long term, it runs into problems. And what do you do then? Whereas this group is more in a lead purchase environment where you deliberately invest your money into leads and can have a steady flow of people to speak to. What was your first year? Kind of walk me through your first year as far as not just your personal production, but you've also done recruiting. We'll kind of talk about that as well.
Sure.
But what was it like in that transition to Symmetry from the practice company?
Well, I mean, like I said, when I started, I was broken. I just needed to make an income. I just needed to prove the model. Okay, once you prove the model, that means from sit down to presentation to application and then to being paid, and it was simplified. I was like, this is the model. I'm not going anywhere. This is incredible. And so, but here's the thing, you have to be consistent. And one of the things that I did was I treated this as if it was a 9 to 5, actually like 9 to 9 job. I treated it,
Yeah. You just worked half the day. It's just
yeah,
which 12 hours do you pick, you know?
right. Because you got to understand, I already went from being a vice president of a mobile advertising company to starting at nothing again with the practice company, and then telling my wife it's going to be okay, we got this, and then
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
earning $30,000. Um, which, by the way, that's great part time. It's amazing in LA. That's great money. I'm not knocking that, but what I'm saying is can you make a sustainable income on that? And
Right.
that's the first thing that I thought. If I can do that and I can duplicate, people will follow. People will call me. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I didn't have to go out and recruit. I didn't have to do that. As long as your actions show, it starts showing in yourself, and you're posting some things on Facebook and people start getting curious. They start going, well, what are you doing, man? I'm like, well, I found the right vehicle. I was in the right, like, so we have a mentor. He's a legend. His name is Danny Young. I love him to death. He's an amazing mentor. He's been like grandfather to me.
Right.
And he came out of another practice company. Now he's one of our equity partners with us. But he always says this, you were in the you were in the wrong horse in the right race, and now you're in the right horse in the right race, and that's exactly it.
Right.
So yeah, so that's I don't know if that answers your question there.
So a couple of things I'll make a comment on. You feel free to
Sure.
provide context. So a lot of agents ask me, well, how do you recruit? What's the best way to recruit? I do think the best way is a deliberate long-term campaign. Not, again, the typical push. You got to call me. You got to speak with me. I've got this great opportunity to make millions of dollars. And like, people just shut down when you do that. They
No,
don't
that
want
never
to
that
talk
never
to you.
works. Yeah, that never works. I think that never works. We have an agency owner. She's the first Mexican American Southern California agency owner of a company, Leslie Rios, and she has an amazing approach. She's always on Facebook and she's always posting her successes and even her failures. And I said, hey, when someone reaches out, she goes, I said, do a lot of people reach out to you? She goes, I get about 10 to 15 people reaching out to me every day, licensed and unlicensed. And she says something very, very nice. She goes, I never talk about recruiting them
Right.
ever. And so I guess that's the key. And I said, when they're ready, they will keep asking you and asking you. And most of her recruiting, I mean, we got agents now in Arizona. We have agents now in Utah. We have agents in Florida. We also have agents in Missouri. So we're growing. And the thing is most of that growth comes from that team. And then my brother's team too. Most of it had nothing to do with hey, are you open to an opportunity?
Right.
If it's not gonna be a burden on your time, that's a false statement. You want to be genuine in this business. You have to work hard. You have to roll up your sleeves and you have to work and work. You have to get rejected 100 times over so that you can be successful, and that builds you. So the thing is, the first filter is this: if someone tells you it's an easy business, it's a simple business, but it's
Right.
not easy. It's
Yeah.
not easy. Guys, it's not easy. By the way, if you've been porched, if the door's been slammed on you, if they confirmed and you drove out 2 miles, 200 miles, and they're not there, guess what? That's the business.
Yeah.
But here's the awesome part about it: it takes one of those. Perfect example, I bought a 50-cent lead, okay? Called it, got the appointment. Turns out that the lady had her husband who was already sick, but he was bedridden. I had a chance at the first appointment to call the carrier and was able to provide help and assistance because the husband was smart enough to have a policy. Sorry, yeah, to have a policy that was long term, and I was able to help her. And at the end of the day, I was there to do business with her, but at the end of the day, here's the thing: it didn't matter to me. I'm going to help her first. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to help her first. She had $45,000 that were sent to her bank account on a whole life policy. She was able to take care of her husband. Guess what happened with that 50-cent lead, man? She says, "Oh, by the way, do you guys do anything for retirement?" I said, I said,
Right.
"Absolutely." She goes, "Well, here's what I have: $200,000 annuity. I mean, $200,000 401k plan that got hammered in the market.
Right.
And guess what? As easy as that, as hard as it is, right? It takes 100 of rejections and stuff and all, and but just that one opportunity, I was able to help her and help her also her husband to get the aid needed and the assistance needed. It was incredible. That's what this business is about.
That's what it's. I believe. Just I don't. I think the only reason I'm just a dude in his spare bedroom. It's how I always viewed myself on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I think the only reason I'm successful is because I unrelentingly give as much as I can without any expectation in return. And it's completely unnatural to think that in business, like there's X investment for Y return.
Right.
But, and that maybe that's important to an extent. But if you have the heart of a servant and you want to help people and you're genuine and sincere to do that, given enough time, I don't know. It's cosmic. It's something that's ethereal. I can't explain it logically, and I'm a logical person.
Right.
I think things just come back tenfold. What goes around comes around 10 times as much better, 10 times as worse. So having that kind of mindset makes it makes a difference in recruiting. Like if you just
Absolutely.
give yourself and your experience to people long enough, they'll see what you're doing, become curious, and some of them will slowly be encouraged to reach out and learn more because maybe their job situation changed. Maybe they're tired of, working the grind 9 to 5 and not have ownership in their own business, but it takes time. And I think that's a big lesson. You probably agree with me too, is that, if you want to recruit, go after the people in your connections, but don't treat it like they're, a transaction. Treat it like they're a person,
Right.
and share your journey and get them sold on you by providing advice, help, perspective, and value added.
Absolutely. I think so. I had a younger, person on my team or my agency asked me, he's like, "Yeah, I want to be like you, man. I want people to respect me." And I said, "Okay, what are you currently doing in business? Well, are you doing it full time? No. You're doing it part time? No. Okay. Well, then how do you expect for people to follow you if it's just talk? You got to walk that talk.
Right.
You got to walk that talk every day." And he's still with me and he's learning. He's young, but he's learning the business. Any onset of adversity, sometimes people will fold. But I
Right.
think that's the beauty about this business is most people that I've seen that succeed and do really well typically tend to be older and had a lot of life experience because this isn't as good as they think, oh, the grass is always greener, and it's not. You have to be the person to go out, mow that grass, fertilize that grass. You got to go
Yeah.
do that. So it
Right.
starts with you. It starts with you doing that.
Right. So walk us through why, you and I were talking about this yesterday. Why were you able to, and please give us some numbers on what kind of production you were doing when you made the transition over to symmetry. And then when you do that, how and why were you able to, exponentially increase your production when you really spent the whole year just, banging out for little sales here and there? What made the difference at the end of the day?
Yeah. I think you're pigeonholed, with the practice company. I was pigeonholed to only sell one product. Really, it was, of course, it was the IUL. IUL is an amazing product, but it's a tool. You got to know how to use it,
Right.
and it's not always the right thing for the right, for a different person. It could be you need something else, and that's a good thing about this company is, we're going in with mortgage protection, but we're servicing that client. We're seeing what they need, and sometimes an IUL doesn't work.
Right.
Sometimes maybe a whole life is better. Sometimes. So I was pigeonholed, and then also, um, and I got to be just very honest. It's the way their system was set up mostly was that the account or the agency owners would have to go out with you. And so if you're already at a low commission of 25, 35, 45%, you're going to have to split that with your agency owner.
Oh, so you had to split and already
Absolutely.
super.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. No
Absolutely.
wonder.
Yeah. And so, although I did a lot, I mean, I did the system, but I also, I had to make money. So I was out, just doing my friends and my family. And then, but like if we had some matchup deals, we'd have to use a trainer, and then you have to be certified to be a trainer. And sometimes it took 25 appointments before you became certified, and you know who that's benefiting.
Yeah.
So when I got this opportunity, I knew I could make income right away with me visiting. I don't need to be certified. I didn't need to be in meetings, mandatory meetings. All they required me to do is be on some conference calls and to plug in every day to our, check in, plug in every day to my mentor, and give me some guidance on product when I'm in home. And if I can do that, I can kind of be left alone. I think I could be successful, and that's exactly what happened. And my first month, so that November, I had only done in terms they call it a point system, and I believe I'd only done like 3,000 points. So it was about 3,000 APV in November, and then when I left in December, I hit 32,000 APV my first month with Symmetry Financial.
10 times more the production.
Absolutely, and then I'm like, wow, this is incredible.
Do you think you worked any harder?
I worked just as hard. So to answer your question, did I work hard? Absolutely. Did I work any harder? I worked hard too, but I also had a team with me. I had my brother, and that's it. My brother and I. So my brother, and then this lady. She kind of she's not in the business anymore, and this other gentleman who's not in the business anymore, and they were kind of feeling the same way. So after that, it was like, Sean Kim was like, Frank, I mean, you're so close to hitting your numbers to become, an agency owner. Let's go on a run. Let's hit it by April. So literally, I hit agency owner in about 4 months in the company, which is like, it's hard to do that. You have to be very intentional to do that.
Right.
So people started hearing about it. Like I said, people started jumping on, and the cool thing is there's no fees involved. There's no startup fee. How they say it's a business. You got to invest in your business. It's like, you're contracted, man. You're contracted to work with an IMO, and it's sales. You got to sell.
Right.
So,
I'll add this in here because I think it's relevant. I don't like the term work smarter, not harder. Like, I think you need to work hard and work smart.
Right.
But I think listening to you, what I think the takeaway here for agents out there that are struggling is like, you are closer to fixing this problem than you really think. Like, Frank went like 10 times his production in 1 month because of a change up in how the business was done. Again, right race, wrong horse to right horse. And so many people give up right before they make that one little change, that one change that has exponential results. And again, I hate to sound like a Tony Robbins, but you can't give up because you just got to keep going, and you'll figure this stuff out, and opportunities arise, that are unexpected, and
absolutely
turn you around.
But the thing is, it's not going to happen for you.
Right.
No one's going to go out and do it. What's the secret? Work hard.
Right. Fortune favors the bold, my friend.
Work hard. And by the way, the cool thing about it, I remember sitting with my brother and we were having sushi, and I was telling him, brother, the cool thing is people have done it before. They've done it. It's not rocket science. Yeah. Just repeat. Just rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. Do it over and over and over again till it becomes it. I'm not going to say I'm a master because I'm not, but it becomes mastery. Consistency leads into experience, and then it becomes mastery. So that's it. In terms of production, if you produce, people want to listen to a winner. People don't want to listen to a talker. They want to listen to a doer. They want to listen to a winner. And if he's genuinely has their best interest, I think people will come. We have tried doing, paid advertising, like on Indeed, on Craigslist. And I got to tell you, most people, when you put in those, when you put it in those formats, right? They're looking for a job. Okay,
Yeah.
they're looking
Right.
for a job. I mean, you're not going to find that one person that's going to take you there. Back to Leslie Rios, my agency owner here. The first day I went out with her, I duplicated exactly what happened in Las Vegas with Sean Kim, with Leslie Rios. She went out, she set the appointment, she closed. She made money. It was incredible. Next day she said, Frank, should I quit my job? I said, what do you mean, like fire your boss? She's like, yes, I'm serious. I'm like, yeah. And I thought she was playing. Literally
Yeah. Right.
30 minutes later, she goes, I quit my job. I said, what did you just do? I said, so I like take that big gulp. You're like, oop, okay. So then
Yeah. I feel a
I
little
just,
responsible here, you know?
yeah, yeah. So what I said, and by the way, single mom. I mean, the hardest working, the most charming person you'll ever meet, hardest working. And she just went out and killed it. She, in 6 months, again, she had 5 years with a practice company. Same thing, no results. I mean, no, very small results. She came here and she's an agency owner. Her agency alone has produced 347,000 APV in about a 7-month period.
It's
So
awesome.
yeah,
And on that note, again, give us your total production for, again, your first full
sure.
year with Symmetry on a personal level and then also on an
Okay,
agency level, if you don't mind.
absolutely. Personal production myself, 214,000 APV.
It's excellent.
Yeah, and then for my entire agency, which I have about 68 registered, agents, but as you know, the business, not a lot of people are going to do the business.
Right.
So I have about, on average, 22 to about 28 writing agents a month in the master agency we have. And so at the 10-month mark, at the end of the 10-month mark, we were at 1 million APV.
It's great.
And month to date, I mean, year to date, we're at 1.2 million
Perfect.
APV. Yeah.
So what are your long-term aspirations? Where do we go after 2019 to 2020 and beyond? Where do you want to take this business?
It's a good question. My goal is to be a household name for Symmetry, we're a household name here in the West Coast, which we're pushing to do that, and through the Brenes agency, the Brenes Master Agency. My goal, so short term, next year, I just want to double my agents, my agency owners, just double them, and if I can help them and pour in on them and kind of just coach and teach them to lead, they can duplicate that, because this business is not necessarily about me. It's about duplicating your successes so you could have multiples.
Right.
Power ofs. You remember that in high school and college? It's power
Exponential.
of, exponential. If you can
Yeah.
do that, you can make a very, very sustainable living with this industry. So that's the goal. I mean, to quantify that and to a bit more, I'd like to have 5,000 agents in my organization in the next 3 years.
I mean, there's the opportunity to do that, man. There's agencies all over the place that are recruiting at that volume.
Wow.
And the great thing is all you have to do is continue to do what you're doing and teach others to do the same, all the same fundamentals. And it's just, like I said, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, you've been awesome, David. I mean, one thing I got to say to you guys, so when I was in the process of making a decision, I actually watched, Mr. Duford's videos, and I just thought your approach is just different. You're not bashing, you're not condescending. You're just, hey, what can I do for you? And that whole servant leadership approach. You don't make money from me. I don't make money from you, and you were kind enough to have me here, and I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank your audience for the time, and I think that paying it forward, it means a lot. I mean, every
Sure.
time I've sent you an email and asked you a question about maybe leads or something, it's like immediate. So this guy's legit. I actually own a couple of his books, and so thank you so much, and it's a pleasure talking to you. It really
Thank you.
is.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it, Frank. So before we wrap it up, for those of you who are interested, Frank recruits, as he's very well made clear. How can people reach out to you, Frank, to learn more about possibly joining your agency?
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. You can reach me at just go to symmetry.income.net. That's symmetry.income.net. And and then also there's another site that I use. It's earnwithsymmetry.com, earnwithsymmetry.com. And that goes directly to me, guys. And I don't want to give you guys a bunch of information. It's just very simple. It's a 4-minute video. It shows, the founders of the company, which are incredible individuals, super humble, Casey Watkins, Brian Pope, Brandon Ellison. These guys are just key people. They're amazing. I've had a chance to meet each and every one of them. Genuine. No frills, no glitter, no glamour. It's just they're just really cool individuals, and it's the kind of guy you just want to, if you drink, have a beer with, and just talk over some things. That's how humble and amazing they are. So for me, this is my home. This is my place, and I love it. And like I said, my mentors are key to me. Kyle Kimbrell, Danny Young, and Ashley Tarr, and then Mr. Sean the Animal Kim. I mean, incredible. So, yeah, guys. So thank you for your time, David. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, Frank. And so for you guys watching this, just at the bottom of this video, you'll see both of those links. Just click on that. It'll take you exactly where Frank described. Frank, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to do this. And we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. Keep doing amazing work. You're doing some awesome fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care. See you later.